Hi everyone, it's George here. Welcome back. In the last video, we looked at the basic use of Qttitude. In this video, we're going to look at the editing tools that Qt provides. Right, let's begin. As before, we have to add some user interface files. And last time we used example 1. This time I'm going to look at the user interfaces in example 2. Right, so you can see we have a set of user interfaces. I'm just going to select all of them and I'm going to open them. Right, so you see a whole lot of user interfaces opened up. In particular, I'm interested in some of them, not all of them. So we're going to close some of them. We can open them up again later. Okay. Like that. Okay, we're just going to keep these two for now. I'm just going to move this around. Over this. Right. So typically what happens when you design a user interface, you'll have the main user interface and then you'll create custom widgets that you'll embed in those dock widgets. As in the last video, the next thing that we want to do is to add some pages. Qttitude provides some custom pages. Right, so what you want to do is to click on the page creator icon down here, and the page creator dialog box comes up. And from this, you can select a set of names to use as your pages. So I'm just going to choose Windows and menus and toolbars. I can also select these to create additional pages. But for now, I'm just going to use the general menus and toolbars and input widgets. We can make it more detailed if we want later on. Now say OK. So now we have our Windows, menus, and input widgets pages. In the Windows page, I'm just going to add the Qt widget. Here I'm going to say background. Okay. Background. And let's just say red for now. Right, we get that color red in there. If you remember from last time, we can add variables and then the variables can be used as parameters in the style sheet. But what we're going to do is to use the color scheme creator. The color scheme creator or color scheme wizard is shown by the wand icon over there. Click on that. Okay. So what you will see is a tool to create a palette based on hue, saturation, and in value. The way the color scheme generator works is that there is a value on a slider, which in this case represents hue, one for saturation and one for value. And next to those sliders is an additional slider that controls the range of values for hue, saturation, and value. What I'm going to do now, so that you understand how it works, is to turn down the value. Notice that these ranges over here, they become smaller and smaller, and I'll reduce them to 0. I'll do the same for saturation. What I'm going to do next is to change the number of colors that are generated. Right? So effectively what's happening is it's randomly picking colors, 8 colors along this range. What I'm going to do is tell it that I want 100 colors. Right. And then I'm going to sort them by value. In the bottom panel over here, from these 100, it picks out 8. Now, usually it's good to use a large number so that you get a nice gradation of these sub palette. Now, to get an appreciation of how the generator works, the power of the generator, I'm going to move the slider of the color. And notice that we now have different hues. Right. Let's try something different. Let's increase the hue value. And we're going to decrease the range value. I'm going to sort it by. So now what you notice is that we get a range of hues. I'm going to increase the saturation so I get more saturated colors, right? Or I can even decrease it so that I get more. What we can do further is to increase the brightness so that we get more pastel-like colors. Right, okay. I'm just going to move it over there. Let's move it up a little bit. Okay. So in this way you can create color schemes. I'm just going to go back and use the hue. Once we're satisfied with a set of colors, what we can do next is to say OK. And what you see that we now have a palette of colors. What I'm going to do now is to generate a second palette. And this palette, I want it to be much more darker. Right, that looks good. Okay, let's put it on value. Right, this looks much better. Right. Desaturated. Okay, let's go with that. Right, now Qttitude asks us whether we should replace the existing colors or add new ones. No, I don't want to overwrite the duplicates, so I'll say no. And we have another set of colors to choose from here. Right, so in this way you can build up a palette of colors. Right, okay, let's use one of these colors in our interface now. Right, so I'm going to go for the darker values. Let's say var color 8. Okay, and then I'll say color white. So that's a default. Okay, so there we are. We have now created the general color for the widgets. Notice that both dock widgets have been colored, so both user interfaces have been colored, so we get a good feel for what the final interface is going to look like. Right, next I'm going to go to my menus. And for the menus, I'm just going to say Q menu bar. And for the menu bar, we're going to go for bar color 0. Oops, background, bar color 0. And the foreground color, let's make that bar color 7. Right. We'll do the same for the menus, but maybe the menus will make them a lighter color. Menu. I'll say background for color 2. And the color oops, I noticed I made a mistake here. Fix that up. Okay, there we are. Okay, so let's go and have a look at this, and we see that we have our menus. Right. I'm going to save this. Right. So we now have the styling for the window and the menu bars. And we can do the same for the toolbars. So let's make that Q toolbar. Background, and I'll call this again var color. Let's go with var color 8. No. Okay, let's go with var color 8. Just the same color as before, but it's just good to get it there. Right. Okay, so now we can move to the input widget. Just going to save this again. So let's change the push buttons. And for the push button, I think we should use a var color 13. Okay, there we are. Maybe too light. Maybe make it a bit darker. Maybe go for 11. Okay. Let's see. Oop, no, too strong. Too strong. 8. Yeah, maybe 7. No. Let's go for 2. Right, okay. So there we have the push buttons at var color 2. Right. Now what we want to do next is to change the color of just this push button. The way you can do this in Qttitude is, well, move your cursor over the button, and you'll notice that the tooltip comes up and tells you that the class is push button and the object name is push button. Right, so what we can do is go to the form buttons, and what you will see is that the layout of forms button is displayed. Right, let's see, what was the name again? Push button. Okay, so if you go down, you see that there's the push button over there, and we can drag the push button into the main to editor, and here you see that it's in the widget form buttons and it's a push button. Right, let's give it a background, and this time we'll go for var color 13. Right, and you can see that in this way you can use a drag and drop mechanism to change the styles of individual widgets. Qttitude also provides another means of creating color schemes, and this is color schemes from images. To create color schemes from images, click on the camera button over there, and then a dialog pops up that asks you to select an image. So I'm going to go into images, and in that images folder I have a set of images that I can select from. Right, let's see. Okay, I've got a picture of ice there. Well, maybe let's go to the folder and see what this image actually looks like. Okay, there we have it. We have a folder with an image of ice, and we'll come back and try some other ones later on. So I'll select open, and it will ask me how many colors I want to create. I'm going to say 16, and then asks me whether I want to overwrite the existing colors, and I'll say yes. And you have to click on this repaint button over there, and you notice here that it replaced the colors on our user interface. What you'll notice next is that our color scheme is not ordered. We can order it. So I'm going to go there, and you can have different orderings. So this is according to HSV. This is according to value. This is according to saturation. What you can also do is do the random shuffle of the colors. And this is a great way of actually experimenting with different color schemes. So in this way, we now can see that we get you can try out different schemes for our user interface. That looks quite nice. Okay. Right. So once we're happy with our style sheet, what we can do is export it. And the export button is shown over here. Click on that, and you can tell it where you want to export the style sheet. And I'm just going to say style sheet 2. QSS. And Oops, no, don't want to save it in there. I'm going to save it in example 2. Actually call it QStyleSheet QSS and save that. Right, let's go into the style sheets folder. And sure enough, there is our QSS style sheet. And if you open it, you have your Qt style sheet. In future videos, we're going to look at styling layouts and Qttitude workflows. Till next time, it's George here. Bye.